That is a solid intro, Jake. Well done.
So good.
Well done. Welcome to PDQ Live from our podcasting room. A little different setup than we typically have. Part of the reason we're redesigning all the set outside. And so we'll be in here at least this week, possibly a couple more weeks. But want to welcome everybody today. Special guest we have with us, Dawn.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're always a pleasure to have here in the studio. Tara is with us, and Jake and Drew. A little different topic today than we've done in the past. I'll just turn it over to you, Tara, and you can kind of walk us through what we're going to chat about today.
We are going to talk about what happened in tech this week. So, Don, I found a bunch of articles, and I'm just going to throw them out at you. So, I'm going to tell you the ins and outs of the story, and then just ask your opinion. We're just going to talk about it and see what happened in the world of IT.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that's gone on in the last few weeks that really affected
Some big ones.
IT and sysadmins.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just go back to what happened with Cloudflare. So many IT people were sleeping on the floor trying to figure out what to do, rebooting machines. It was an absolute nightmare.
Do you mean CrowdStrike? Because I'm scared that I missed something.
No, you're right.
Okay, because I am me. I just kept adding to the outline. I think I was on page 8, and Drew's like, "Hey, lady, are you going to stop ever?"
Yes, it was. It's not a 4-hour show.
I was scared there. We're going to start with Google because I had tried to prioritize these. So this one was fun for me. Newsflash, Google is harvesting data, Don.
Really?
I know, right? Isn't that weird? So there's a big lawsuit, and they lost a massive antitrust lawsuit. Not really surprising because they are, in fact, a monopoly. I think that's pretty easy to agree with.
The question is, what is a monopoly, right?
Yes.
Because if it's just exerting economic influence, well, then Amazon's a monopoly.
I think
because they have so much money, they can force their way into so many markets that, a mom and pop can't force their way into.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have some antitrust lawsuits against them too, though.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll tell you what
they're not in the clear.
So the judge said that Google abused its monopoly power over the search business by paying companies like, shocker, Apple, to present its search engine as the default choice on devices and web browsers. So they actually suppressed other little baby search engines, like DuckDuckGo was one of them. And they made theirs the #1 web search engine.
Right.
That was one of the...
But did you see the name of the judge?
Meta. MEHTA. Yes, yeah. I did.
It's like, is this a Facebook thing?
They're just messing with us now.
Did you get this off of The Onion?
No. So I put all the links in here.
No, I'm just kidding.
Google spent $26 billion
right.
in 2021 alone to be the default search engine across Apple and Android platforms. So it's, they were in cahoots with a couple different companies.
Right. But, again, the question is, to me, it's like, okay, if they said you can only have Google, that definitely, crosses the line. But then when it's just, okay, we're the default, I can still put, Microsoft
yes.
on there, Edge. I can put Edge on there. I can put
Bing,
DuckDuckGo,
Yeah.
I can use all those different search engines. It kind of goes back to the, early days when I was first in IT, when, Netscape was like doing that, we're the default everywhere. Netscape is the default. And then, Internet Explorer kind of, by virtue of being Microsoft's product, became the default in all those products. And, it killed companies like Netscape.
Yeah. Well, so what they found is that Google unfairly blocked out would-be search rivals like Bing and DuckDuckGo, and the Justice Department estimated that Google had a 90% share of the search market. 90% share. Yeah. So I'm not gonna read the exact. I'll just tell you the gist of it. You'll just have to believe me that I researched this. What they found is that the reason they did this is to harvest data. And something I didn't know that I learned is that they use something called dark pattern design tricks. Have you heard of this? Because I hadn't.
No.
Have you noticed when you go search for something, you used to see to the left of the search, it's an ad.
Yeah.
Now it says web.
Mm-hmm.
And you would see it in multiple ones. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I will skip the ones that say ad because I'm like, you're not going to get my data, even though of course they are.
Well, plus when you go to the ad link, it takes you to not their homepage, but a place where you have to sign up for something,
Yeah. Now it says web.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this dark pattern design trick where they're harvesting your data to then sell it to someone else. So that's what this lawsuit alleged and apparently proved. Now, Google is appealing it, of course, but these are all the things that came out. And what they're basically saying is users are too stupid to make their own search engine the default.
Yeah.
That's what, and Google's like, they could change it, just what you just said.
Well, and I think the thing too is, Bing is harvesting data too. I use Edge primarily for my browser in my job, and they're harvesting data, and Firefox harvests this data. So I think in the legal system has to be able to distinguish between the search engine and the harvesting of the data, like, okay, is the fact that you've got the data, is that the problem? Because if that's the problem, then that's a whole different discussion versus, okay, now your software is the only software that or not the only, but the primary software because you bought your way into position. But, you look at the grocery store. If you go to the grocery store, Frito-Lay has paid space for their chips to be in the primary location. Yeah. They're on the end cap. You're not going to find the cheap brand on the end cap. You're going to find Frito-Lay, and they paid for that position. And so I think that's a can of worms that they're opening with this case. Is it bad to use your money to buy space?
Well, and the other thing to think about is if you're not paying for a product, you are the product.
Yeah.
So anyone that is surprised that these companies are harvesting your information and trying to make money off of it, I mean, it's very common. It's just standard practice at this point. You're getting this for free. And so in exchange, I'm going to take your information. So now I can serve you ads. I can do whatever I want, customize it, make money off of you. Because at that point, you are the product that they're selling.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is they say in the ease with which you can sync up your Google devices, YouTube, Gmail, all your devices is another way with which they harvest your data. And they're like, we don't like that.
Yeah.
So now this case, even though they are appealing it, they say the government is going to take anti-monopoly steps and break it apart. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens on appeal because, like I personally don't have it sync my Google profile.
I don't either.
So I always tell it, don't sync because I don't want to be tracked on all my devices.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, Not that I'm doing anything bad. It's just.
I was about to say that's a bad thing because I sync every device.
I don't. The thing is, I don't want to be searching for a gift for one of my family members, and then my family member goes and uses the family computer, and it's like, oh, I wonder why Dad's looking at this.
I don't either because I am what you made me. But I wonder how many other people are like Drew and sync it to everything.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of people are pressing the easy button and not doing any kind of work to say, oh, turn off this, turn off that, turn off this.
What gets really scary though is this little baby right here. Here's a perfect example. Last week there was something that happened to a person in my neighborhood, and so we were saying this person's name in my house frequently.
Yes.
Next thing I know, this guy has an insurance agency. Next thing I know, I'm being served up ads with his face from the insurance agency.
Oh yeah.
Because this is listening, and we were saying his name over and over and over again.
Oh, of course.
And people are putting Alexas all over their house.
Oh yeah.
And it's just shocking sometimes when, you like we're having a conversation in our room, and next thing I know, when I'm going onto Amazon, it's trying to get me to buy something that we were talking about. It's like, I didn't search that, So
yeah.
I think the privacy thing is going to blow up more than the monopoly thing.
For sure.
Because I think that's where the real issue is.
Yeah. I think
we had to deal with that with work quite a while with at my last job, where they kind of made that switch where it all of a sudden became very easy to sign into Google and sync, like not just like, oh, I'm just signing into my email. It was like, that's what people thought that they were doing. And next thing you know, like all of their favorites and stuff from their like personal home computer are all of a sudden like on all of these work devices, because they made it so easy that people were just like, oh yeah, let me just sign in. And they didn't realize what they were signing into.
Yep.
Okay, another crazy one. Sorry, we're getting a little off topic here, but
I'll get you back on.
But at our old job, we found out that somebody at one of the locations had gone into Google, and there was a way in Google to make it so you could remote control your desktop through Google.
Yeah, we talked about that in a webcast.
And it's like, as an admin, we didn't know until later that they had done that. And it's like, oh, that was way too easy for them to do. And it's way
too easy.
You know, and the fact that they can do that makes it that much more susceptible to a hacker, you know,
for sure,
coming in and controlling. So.
It's scary. Okay, we got to move on because Drew is very strict.
I haven't even said anything yet.
I know, but I love it. I can feel you.
Okay.
Okay, next up, Delta versus CrowdStrike. I titled this one, "Nuh-uh, you did it."
Yeah.
So, all right, it's
big
coming
time
up
finger
now.
pointing, right?
Big time finger pointing.
Yeah.
Now, all the lawsuits are coming out. So, people are starting to sue CrowdStrike. So, let me tell you the facts. You ready? CrowdStrike says it isn't to blame for Delta's flight cancellations after July outage. Delta canceled more than 5,000 flights from the July 19th outage. More than 5,000. Okay.
I was going to say that's a low number based on what I've heard. Yeah.
Delta cost the company $500 million. Delta has lost $500 million, including customer compensation. They have no choice but to seek damages. But CrowdStrike's contractual liability is capped in the single-digit million.
They didn't read the EULA.
They didn't read the EULA. Yeah, exactly. CrowdStrike shares have lost more than 36% of their value. And CrowdStrike feels like Delta should share a little bit of the responsibility. Because CrowdStrike, after all, did say, hey, we'll help you.
Yeah.
We'll send people on site. And Delta said, nah, we're good. We got this. And CrowdStrike feels like Delta did not have a good business
continuity.
Yeah, they didn't handle it very well. So they're kind of arguing back and forth. And CrowdStrike is saying, and I feel maybe rightfully so, saying if you had to show your business impact analysis plan, you're going to be looking stupid.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so when I first heard about all this, CrowdStrike, Delta thing, I thought, oh, CrowdStrike is going to lose their shirt.
Yeah.
Delta's going to come after them. They have no recourse. But it sounds like CrowdStrike was a little more prepared than Delta. Because, first of all, in their agreement, they limited their liability to, single digits in the millions, And then secondarily, I think they're right. The CrowdStrike thing didn't just affect Delta. It affected banks. It affected broadcasters.
It was huge.
Hospitals.
Yeah.
But none of those other companies were down for days. And they had plans to recover and stay in operation. Broadcasters knew to, hey, we got to have a backup plan. We always, in my previous job working for a broadcaster, we had plans. If the power goes out, if we lose internet connectivity, if the tower's down, here's how we're going to continue operations.
Yep.
And it sounds like Delta didn't have that process in place.
Yep.
And so, I agree with the CrowdStrike guys that, there's going to be some liability that needs to be shared.
It's difficult now, though, to have a contingency plan for every potential disaster. And here's what I mean. Things have become, I was thinking about this driving into work because during the pre-show, we talked about the fact that power went out.
Yeah.
Okay. Which caused our infrastructure to stop functioning. Right.
Yeah.
So once you get the power back up, then you can work on the infrastructure. But until those two things happen, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
Right. You can't do anything. And I was thinking about this in terms of historical precedent. I'm like, back in the 70s, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Because we weren't so dependent on computer infrastructure. Everything is so interconnected now that how can you go from digital to doing business back in an analog world?
Right.
I don't know what Delta could have done to prevent this.
I do.
Okay. What?
Well, I thought about this a lot. You know me.
Yeah.
I already had a plan. I thought about it a lot. Of course I'd have a plan. It's craziness. Josh looked at me like I'm insane, but I already had a backup plan, and I think everybody should. Don is laughing, but I had a plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane to me
Yeah.
that they didn't have it set up. So I'm kind of with CrowdStrike here. Not that I don't think they messed up big time. I do think they messed up big time, but I also think Delta should have planned a little bit better.
Yeah.
Can we
I
just highlight
absolutely do.
Zach's comment first?
Yes, I love Zach.
CrowdStrike should offer Delta
Yeah.
an overnight stay in a
Well,
hotel.
didn't they offer him Starbucks cards?
And then some of them didn't
Starbucks
work. Some
Yeah,
of them didn't
that's-
work. Did you see that?
Because Starbucks was
Um,
hit by the same problem, so he couldn't redeem them.
And then Starbucks gave them a Best Buy card, and then it just kept going.
Somebody commented about the Southwest thing, but I heard the funniest story about the Southwest thing is the reason they weren't affected is because they're still using Windows XP.
Which actually, we talked about that. It wasn't Windows XP, but it was like Windows 3.1.
Yeah.
Is what someone said last week.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, I saw an
firmly
article
believe in
today
contingency.
from Microsoft. I think it was Microsoft coming back at Delta saying the vast majority of their downtime was because of their outdated IT infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why they were affected more than banks and hospitals and other people who were affected.
Well, banks and hospitals, though, they need to be SOC 2 compliant, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they've got to have that contingency
Yeah.
plan. They have to. I have a feeling Delta's going to now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
There
I
is
mean,
another side of this coin, though, that I saw just the other day on Reddit that people were talking about. They're like, because again, before this whole disaster, this CrowdStrike disaster, they were like pretty well regarded as a security service provider, right? And so people were talking about after the fact, after this happened, that they were getting drastic discounts to still like sign up and use CrowdStrike, which I mean is still, according to people, is still a really good product. Sure, they had this one terrible incident, but it's like if you're getting it for like pennies on the dime, it's still like a really valid product to purchase, and like especially at this deep of a discount, people are getting it for like 20% off, or 20% normal cost.
Well, it's like we talked about earlier too. You learn a lot from your mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Sure.
CrowdStrike is, one of the things I heard that they're doing is going to start slowly rolling out the updates. So they'll roll it out to a segment of their customers before, just blasting it to everybody,
yeah.
because then they'll find those problems. That's
Mhm.
that's what the cell phone companies do. When Samsung does an update, it doesn't go out to every carrier on every phone all at once. They do it in segments, because if it adversely affects and takes it
Mhm.
down, they have a smaller segment to react to.
Yeah.
And that's a good lesson for all of us in IT to use, is don't just blast it out to everybody. We had the Greg situation where he updated the software and pushed it out to everybody, and it failed miserably. And then when he backed it out, we were left vulnerable,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Everyone makes mistakes. I think it's easy to sit in judgment, but every single person makes mistakes. It's how you respond, like
Yeah.
you just said.
I saw an article that said it was Regex was involved, which I mean, come on, if Regex is involved, a mistake is bound to happen, right?
yeah.
Okay. Ooh, we finished 2 minutes. Drew, I could feel Drew looking at me.
Catching it
Okay.
up.
Ready? I want to talk about this one because I found this one later in the week, but I think it's interesting to talk about because it is targeted specifically toward IT people. Okay, you ready, Don?
Uh-huh.
This one, I'm going to read the title. I'm going to use my Kelly voice too.
You have a Kelly voice?
Ransomware gang targets IT workers with new Sharp Rhino malware. It was a really bad
I
impression.
sound just like
No,
that.
you don't. You sound
That is
nothing
so
like
good.
that. Okay. This one is kind of cool because Sharp Rhino is a rat, and it is used to breach corporate networks by essentially impersonating. It's disseminated by using a type squatting, site impersonating angry IP scanner, which is a legitimate networking tool used by IT people. So they basically trick you into going to their pretend website, and then it installs using a digitally signed 32-bit installer containing a self-extracting password protective 7Z archive, blah, blah, blah. Super scary, but you don't know it's installing, and you think you're going to a legitimate website, and then it installs, and it uses PowerShell to then execute PowerShell commands, and eventually deploy the ransomware payload. This one's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this one?
So, I think it kind of goes back to a little bit to the CrowdStrike thing. CrowdStrike is a reliable company. If you
Mhm.
have something bad that happens because you put CrowdStrike in, you've got recourse, right?
Mhm.
But if I'm just going around the web and, hey, there's this new tool that's going to map out my network and tell me everything that's there and, how to get into it,
Mhm.
You better be careful about where you're getting those, those programs from. Obviously, IP scan sounds that's pretty
I think a
bland.
lot of people
That's-
use Angry IP Scanner. Yeah, but if you don't bookmark it and you're just searching it,
Right.
you might not know.
Was it Angry IP or was it
Yeah.
just IP? Oh yeah. Okay.
Angry IP Scanner, yeah.
Yeah. And so, Angry IP scan, advanced IP scan, there's a billion of them out there that do IP scans and stuff. But again, you probably should research the tools that you're using.
Yeah.
And then go to their sites to get them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this came from Angry IP's website.
No.
And so if if I just search for Angry IP Scanner and I click on the first link that says freedownloads.com, then that's probably not the best place. I would always go to the source.
Yeah.
The person who wrote the software, because you're more likely to get the actual valid version.
Yeah.
And the other thing, when you're looking for these tools, if you go to some web pages, they have download all over the page.
Sure.
And, if you're not careful and you click on the wrong one, you're going to, some other site.
You might not even know it.
You might be getting malware. So,
Mhm.
I've always encouraged people, don't just go find your own tools that look cool. Oh yeah, I found the spell checker, it's like, okay, really, there's better tools than that that you can find, and you shouldn't just install from anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way to get around that. And the hackers are smart. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff like this. I heard about one where they're actually putting bad stuff in QR codes.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Because how often do you go up and say,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'm going to get this," and you scan a QR code.
Mhm.
Where is it taking you? What are you getting?
For sure.
Yeah. Our IT security person, Rachel, that's one of her pet peeves is those QR codes. If you scan one, I had them on a form during the webcast, and it just makes her go, no.
Yeah, because it's scary. You don't even know.
Well,
I mean,
you go to the.
You got to think it's got to be so easy to go in there with a sticker and put a sticker over the actual QR code in like a restaurant or something like that.
I was just going to say that, all the parking here in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Every parking thing is scan this code to get the parking app and, pay for your spot. How easy would it be to print a bunch of stickers and just put over the top all over town and direct them to a site that looks like Park SLC,
Yeah.
but is actually gathering their information that people are putting in their credit cards and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before, they start using that method instead of putting skimmers on the gas,
Yeah, exactly.
gas pumps,
Hey,
which seems so much easier, right?
Yeah.
Andrew, you want to hear my Hank Hill impression? Okay, here you go.
My name is Hank Hill.
How was that, Andrew? Was it good?
You got to move your mouth. You
Oh,
got to
yeah.
be like a mannequin when I do that.
I forgot to move my mouth.
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay, we got to move on.
Yep.
We got to move
That
on.
was
It's
Hank Hill
10:23.
as ventriloquist, right?
Okay, we're going to be really fast because these ones roll into each other. Okay. So thank you, Andrew. That was really amazing. The hacker group Dark Angels receives a record-breaking $75 million ransom. Okay, $75 million. So previous to this, the largest one was 40 million. Okay, so stay with me now. Dark Angels, obviously terrible. They started in 2022. They usually use VMware to encrypt, use Babook ransomware. That sounds like it comes from anime, but who knows? I don't know. So I'm not going to tell you too much about that, but they seized 27 terabytes of corporate data. So obviously just a crap ton. But here's why I'm bringing it up. Huge ransoms now, right?
Yep.
So that we know of, because I'm of the opinion that who's reporting it?
Oh yeah.
Because I think a lot of companies aren't.
Oh yeah. If you can hide it, if you're not a publicly traded company, if I'm a private company and I get crypto locked and I have to pay $2 million, I'm not telling a soul.
I know.
Because I don't want my customers to know.
Yeah.
I don't want the government to come snooping in my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so seriously, how much? Well, and as much as is going on that we know about, you got to know that there's more.
Right. So then I dug further. So Australia now is going to have to report anything over 3 million. And because it said like the US. And I'm like, what do you mean like the US? So apparently there is in fact a law.
There's
like,
a law, but
what?
people aren't following.
Yeah, the CIRCIA requires you to. So then I'm like, what? How many people know about this? So then I looked it up. It's only certain industries.
Right.
So the ones you would expect, financial, anyone that's basically SOC 2 compliant
Right.
is in fact required to do it. But I still say, who's doing that?
Yeah.
I don't think that many. So then I found Interpol, which is actually an EU enterprise essentially that'll help the EU. They actually recovered 40 million. Bye, Alex. 40 million that was stolen in a BEC attack. So BEC, I'm sure you already know, is someone who tricks you into wiring the money, essentially, not wiring, but says, hey, I'm this person, pay me this much money. And that actually happened to us a couple years ago.
Hey, we changed our ACH to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, Sure.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But they're actually very, very sophisticated.
Yeah.
And we got tricked by that.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, Interpol recovered $40 million for this company. And so then I started looking, who does that in the US? There is not one agency. It's a consortium. I just made up that word. Is that a word? Consortium?
Yeah, I think
It
it's
should
just
be.
a different way to say it.
I don't know. So it's currently the FBI, the Secret Service, and Homeland Security, but none of them really do it as one entity.
Yeah.
And so my question is, what's going to motivate me to report it except for the fact that my cybersecurity insurance is going to make me? And
Right.
am I going to get it back? That's my question to you.
Well, and so many of them use cryptocurrency. So I don't, this one sounds like this was an ACH. So it's going through normal banking channels. So they were able to stop it. But the majority of the crypto locker stuff is done through cryptocurrencies. And so because that's dark, it's kind of hidden encrypted money. It's hard to get back, hard to track. And that's why they use it. That's why I'm not a big fan of cryptocurrency, is because it's just a tool that's, they designed it to be hidden from the government. So the government and all these other entities can't suck out that money.
Yeah.
But you basically created a tool that now criminal enterprises can use because the money can't be tracked or whatever.
So what good is the government going to do me to get it back is what I'm
Yeah,
saying. And also I'm telling Nathan, you said all of this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nathan, big into crypto.
He's going to be mad.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Why would I report it?
Yeah.
But then if I don't report it, it's just going to continue on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I report it and draw attention and then hopefully we find solutions, or do I keep it hidden and let it go on and nobody knows it's happening, but it keeps increasing because nobody's drawing attention to it?
Is the government listening to me right now saying all this?
Google is. Google and Apple are,
right.
so they'll know.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting ads for Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
You
Thank you.
are. Okay, I think it's speed round. Drew's giving me the look. Speed
Ready.
round, Drew.
Ready.
Is it? Okay,
Yep.
speed round. Ready?
Okay.
Dawn, there's a sitting duck DNS attack that lets that hijackers hijack over 35,000 domains. This was creepy. So the first thing I said was, what's a lame domain? I had to look that up. So that's basically if you don't have a lot of information with your registrar. So you've left off certain pieces of information with your domain registrar, or they're just lazy. They're a bad registrar, or even scarier, they farm off certain parts of that registration to some bad people, essentially.
Yeah.
So these hackers can then come into your domain or your subdomains and usurp them, essentially.
Again, use reputable registrars like Network Solutions or Web.com, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then make sure that your information for your technical contact, your billing contact, your administrative contact, all of those, make sure that they're up to date. They're not people who left the company 10 years ago and nobody knows how to get a hold of them. You got to do some due diligence to protect yourself. If you don't, you're going to be hacked.
So I do that myself, though, right? When I'm registering my domains, I go through and I'm looking at all the information.
Yeah, you can log into your registrar at any time, and you can go through and review what all those contacts are for your domain and make sure that's updated.
But I have no control if they're subcontracting it out to somebody. So that's what you're saying. Use reputable people.
Yeah, don't go to dollardomains.com and register this.
Domains.com.
I'm sure it's there.
That is a great
I'm
name.
sure
I know,
it's
right?
there.
Wow.
I've already squatted that
You-
domain. So if you want to buy it, it's $15,000
That's perfect.
in
That's perfect.
cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Of course.
We only had time for one speed round because it's done. That went so fast, Don, didn't it?
Yeah, it does. Goes very fast.
That was fun. Should we do a fake commercial? I'm just kidding. We used to do fake commercials.
We did a pilot for a podcast that we were going to do called the AI podcast, which was Artificial Incompetence Podcast.
Yeah, I like that
And-
name. That's a good name.
And so we made up our own fake commercials.
And yeah, Brandon would do the fake commercials. He
Yeah.
was really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, Don, thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining
No, it
us
was
today.
fun.
That was
Anytime.
lots of fun. And the studio is going to be done when, Drew?
There's a good chance, as I put in all the good faith, that next week we will be new format, new show, new studio.
Yeah.
But
Ooh.
barring any unforeseen circumstances, there's
Yeah.
still a chance we'll be in here and we'll still be building things if I'm still like dinking around with stuff and having a good time. But
I
we're
don't-
getting close.
I don't think you're going to. I think you're going to be ready.
We're getting close. We're so excited.
Are we going to give away some good swag that first day?
We've got swag. We've got fun things to give away. Lots of interactions. Lots of like back and forth with chat and just
Guess
getting
what?
that to happen.
Sir Ginger said he'd be on the show. I'm serious.
No, this is fantastic.
He
I
did.
love
That's great.
segments where we can pull in some of our favorite sysadmins and some that we're getting to know. Like I think there's a lot of value in that. So look forward to a new and surprising new like format.
Yay!
There you go.
All right. Thanks again, Don.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for joining our webcast. And we will be back here next week. Do us a favor, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love that. Leave us your comments. We'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. And we'll see you back here next week.